Alrighty, so now I get to talk about my personal favorite in the Star Wars saga, Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. And when I say that this is my favorite, the main reason for that is because it has some of my favorite moments in the entire saga. I mean it's everything coming together. It's the story is over, and and yeah, basically, I like that everything comes to fruition in a meaningful way. Um, and when I think back at the Star Wars movies, they are good, in my opinion. They are good, but they don't crack my list of favorite movies personally. I mean, not none of them really, none of them really made me go, "Oh wow, that this movie is brilliant." No, they are rousing adventure flicks. Um, Granted, they do toss you into this very well realized fictional world, but at their core, they are basically simple adventure stories. Um, and I don't know, something just kept me from absolutely wholeheartedly embracing them as much as everyone else. I mean, and like I said, they are good. They are very good. But me personally, that's all I can really say. I mean, I sound like a jerk for saying that, and I'm kind of contradicting myself since I basically praised the first two entries of the original trilogy. But but getting back to Return of the Jedi, I the movie starts with them basically tackling the plot line of trying to get Han Solo back from Jabba the Hutt. He's still frozen in carbonite, so they stage this pretty pretty elaborate rescue attempt that involves basically the gang of main characters going in one by one to try and get him out. And when they keep failing, they keep sending another guy in. I don't know why they do this, and I also don't know. Whatever. So eventually they do get Han out. They kill Jabba the Hutt, or Leia. Princess Leia kills Jabba the Hutt for subjecting her to the mother of all fan services, or fan services. Of course, they put her in this skimpy little outfit, which I'm not complaining, nor did a lot of other fanboys complain, but it's a little blatant, how it's just so obviously fan service. I mean, there was really no concrete reason to put her in that, but yeah. So then it turns out that the Empire is building a second Death Star, and overseeing it is the Emperor himself. So the big man in charge, who the guy who Darth Vader takes orders from. So the rebels mount this kind of dual locationed or dual located attack, where they go down to this jungle planet to disarm the shield generator protecting the Death Star, and then they plan on sending the rebel fleet into the basically into combat. So a squadron of fighters led by the Millennium Falcon can go into the Death Star, blast the reactor core, and blow it up. Why they didn't fix that design flaw after the first Death Star was destroyed that way, I have no idea. But But yeah, that's and Luke Skywalker basically has to fight Darth Vader again, and he has to overcome the influence of the Emperor, and he has to help his father. He helps Darth Vader redeem himself and eventually revert back to Anakin Skywalker, the former Jedi that he was before he turned to the dark side. So what is good about this movie? Well, the acting. I mean, I said in Empire Strikes Back how the characters felt more natural this time around, and that is still very much the case here. I mean, all of the main actors feel suitably comfortable in their respective roles. Like Mark Hamill, who again, like I said in episode 4, that has gone through a real visible transformation, but also a change in personality. I mean, you can see that he's much more relaxed, much more calm, much more in tune with the Force. I mean, he's not that reckless farm kid from 2 movies ago. I mean, he's now a full-fledged Jedi, and to come with him on that journey, it's actually really gratifying to see him doing really awesome stuff with his abilities. I mean, he fights off Jabba's entire small army of guys by himself. So that's impressive. And he also constructs a lightsaber that looks almost exactly like Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber. So since he actually lost his lightsaber when Darth Vader chopped off his hand, so he made a new lightsaber. This one's green. And yeah, this is probably my favorite performance from Mark Hamill in the trilogy, because again, it's just so gratifying to see him come full circle in terms of how the character has progressed. I mean, wow. Harrison Ford, he's not given as much to do this time around, and he still can be kind of wooden, but again, he's as charismatic as he needs to be. I mean, he leads the rebel ground squad through the forest and against the Imperials. He leads them with enough snark to make him endearing and not instead of boring. So, and Carrie Fisher, she's basically playing. She's ditched the British accent, which I like, the half Britishy accent that she sported in episode 4, because again, that was really distracting. She's completely thrown that away. But she's kind of she's fully admitted her feelings for Han, so it's nice that again that animosity has changed into something, to a real, believable, genuine romance, and again, her chemistry with Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford really helps to sell the kind of strong friendship these three heroes have developed. And also, to a lesser extent, Billy D. Williams, that also applies to. I mean, she's Fisher. When you find out that Princess Leia is Luke's long-lost sister, you buy it. I mean, you definitely buy it because they look enough alike. I mean, they look roughly about the same age. But not only that, again, because of the chemistry they have together. They sell the scene where you actually get the revelation, where Leia actually gets the revelation that Luke is her brother. Both her and Mark Hamill sell that scene. They sell the clear shock of it, but also the undertone of "I've always known," and this comes as no surprise. So, so yeah, really kind of impressed with how these actors have progressed. Again, still not on the level of, say, Peter Cushing or Alec Guinness. I mean, the acting is not great, but it has improved, and it's just good enough. So what else? What else? What else? What else? Yeah, the creatures. There are more creatures this time around. I mean, there are a lot more creatures here than there were in Empire Strikes Back. There's, again, the Yoda puppet that shows up for one scene. There are the Ewoks, this race of little jungle teddy bears that help the rebels in their fight against the Imperials. And also you get kind of an extended, or you kind of get an extension of the bar scene from Episode 4, except this time it's kind of a whole palace, like Jabba's whole palace full of exotic, very imaginative creatures. And again, with the more elaborate sets, you get back to Tatooine this time around, and this could have easily just been a series of the more basic sets that we saw in Episode 4, but no, they improve on the sets, and that not only do they use the sets to create a foreboding atmosphere in Jabba's palace, but they also use the lighting, the music. I mean, this really feels like a seedy place. It looks and feels like a seedy place. A place that you can't really imagine living in. I mean, it looks like the kind of place where a dirty crime lord like Jabba the Hutt would hang out. And in turn, this causes you to root for the heroes and hope they get out of there safely, which eventually, of course, they do. But also the Ewoks and their home, their treetops days. The Ewoks are not the best characters to come out of Star Wars. I mean, again, it's a little embarrassing to see these little jungle furry things single-handedly, well, not single-handedly, I mean, there is a lot of them do die, but to eventually take down the Imperial Army. So, I mean, I guess you could argue that they know the terrain better, they know the planets. Maybe the stormtroopers aren't used to fighting in the dense jungle. But still, it's a little silly when you see stormtroopers getting their butts handed to them by Ewoks. I mean, it takes you out of it a little, but to be fair, the Ewoks are creative and inventive enough, just in their weapons and how they fight, that you just buy it enough to where you aren't calling this movie out on it. I mean, they crush one of the Imperial mechanical walkers with 2 logs. They use those. I think they're called bolas. They use bolas and slingshots against the Imperials. Chewie actually commandeers one of the Imperial walkers at one point. So again, it's not just the Ewoks; they're having help from the rebels. And probably my favorite scene in the movie is, or my favorite series of scenes, is the collection of interactions between Luke and Darth Vader, because at this point all the cards are on the table. They know most, if not everything, about each other. They know, I mean, there are no more secrets between them. I mean, they know that each of them has made their choice, and they are each trying to get the other to turn. I mean, Darth Vader is trying to get Luke to turn to the dark side. Luke is trying to get Darth Vader to kind of revert back to a Jedi. So it's this real kind of psychological struggle between them, and I like that dynamic, and I find that more interesting, in fact, than the kind of manhunt that Darth Vader was going on in Empire Strikes Back. So yeah, there's that, and it all builds to a very well realized series of scenes in the Emperor's throne room on the Death Star. I mean, this really creepy place. I mean, you can tell just by the design, the set design, you can tell that it's part of the Empire. I mean, everything's kind of smooth and metallic and chrome, but then again, it's really dark. I mean, there's shadows everywhere. There's only enough light in certain places. I mean, the Emperor is kind of half hidden beneath his black hood. I mean, it's a really foreboding scene, brought about by not only by Ian McDiarmid's fantastic performance as the Emperor, but also by, again, the lighting and the sets and the music. I mean, all this stuff creates such an unnerving atmosphere in this room that you can't help but feel that this is a fitting place to meet essentially the bad guy, the puppet master, the big antagonist behind the whole series would be confronted and would be dwelling in such a dark and frightening place such as this. I mean, it's really fitting, and it leads to probably my favorite moment in the franchise, where after the Emperor shows Luke how he set a trap for the rebels. I mean, it turns out the Death Star is actually operational. I mean, it starts wiping out the rebel fleet one by one, and even his friends on the surface, on the forest planet, or the forest moon of Endor. I mean, even his friends have walked into a trap at this point. So Luke is watching his comrades, not just his military comrades, but his longtime friends, just lose. They, again, keeping with the spirit of The Empire Strikes Back, this long string of failure, and the Rebel Alliance and all of the heroes could be wiped out in one fell swoop. And when Luke sees this, he blindly, angrily attacks the Emperor, and he and Darth Vader are fighting. It's much more. I mean, the shoe is very much on the other foot this time around, because Luke is constantly besting Vader throughout this whole fight. I mean, Vader just cannot get the upper hand here. I mean, Luke's training at this point has come full circle. He is now a full-fledged Jedi. He's superior to Darth Vader. He's faster, more agile, but at the same time, it's not really focused on the fighting so much. It's focused, again, on the psychological conflict between the two. I mean, they're trying to get in each other's heads. And in a way, that is much more fitting to end a series than just having a half-hour battle. So, I mean, it's much more effective. A psychological struggle, a lot of the times, it's much more effective than, provided it's done right, it's much more effective than just two people swinging at each other with weapons. And that is where this scene truly shines, because the Emperor is taunting both of them, and it's just this really compelling eruption of drama here, because it's very effective. I mean, what else? Oh, it leads to, again, my favorite moment in the franchise. I didn't get to that earlier. This, my favorite moment in the franchise. Luke has Darth Vader dead to rights. He's chopped off his robotic hand, and he says, "No, I will not kill him." The Emperor becomes enraged. His plan has not succeeded. He starts zapping Luke with Force lightning, and Darth Vader gets up and he picks up the Emperor and tosses him down this infinite abyss, and the Emperor explodes. And I just thought that was such a powerful moment, because it was building to this throughout the entire movie. I mean, it was building to Darth Vader's eventual redemption, and they handled it so well without a word of dialogue. I mean, you have Luke writhing and screaming on the ground. The Emperor is just kind of laughing and taunting him as he's killing him with lightning. And Darth Vader, without saying anything, I mean, you can see just by the body motions of David Prowse, you can see that the turmoil and the conflict inside this guy. You can just see it without having the facial expressions, because again, Darth Vader is in this emotionless helmet. So, and he just, man, does that moment work. I mean, in my opinion, it's the best moment of the franchise, because keeping with the spirit of this movie, everything comes full circle. I mean, it's all compiled into that one redemptive, game-changing moment, and that is what makes this movie worth it to me. I mean, that is what makes this movie better than the other two. So, yeah, it's, like I said, it's my favorite of the original trilogy, and I've told you why. And yeah, now I got the prequels, which, I don't know. I mean, the prequels, some stuff in them are good, but yeah, the Return of the Jedi is a reasonably accomplished end to a trilogy. I mean, a lot of the critics and a lot of the fans were saying it's not as good as the other two. While I personally don't believe that, I haven't really heard anyone write it off as terrible. I mean, it's, like I said, I think Ebert, or not Ebert, Siskel put it best in his and Ebert's review of it, which was, that's not to say that Return of the Jedi is bad, but the other movies were just a lot better. To each his own. It's my favorite. I don't know about anyone else, but yeah, it's a good ending to a good trilogy of movies. And yeah, I can only imagine the wait, and how agonizing the wait was for another Star Wars movie after this, because you've had 3 solid movies in a row. I mean, that's a lot of pressure for a prequel. So, see where it goes, I guess. I mean, Phantom Menace, that's next. Yeah. Hopefully it's not too bad. It's got Liam Neeson in it. What could go wrong? Wait, I gotta address this. I gotta address the changes that were made to Return of the Jedi in the recent Blu-ray release, and how pointless they are. I mean, alright, first of all, these are just off the top of my head here, but Jabba's door is bigger for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why they decided to digitally increase the size of the door. I mean, does that add anything? No. I mean, it's pretty pointless. I mean, that's like going into that's like going into Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and increasing the size of the entryway into the temple, increasing the size of the temple which houses the Holy Grail. There's no point to doing that because it's fine the way it is. I mean, increasing the size of it doesn't add anything to the story, but anyway, that's whatever. It's fairly minor. Again, second thing I remember, the Ewoks now blink. The Ewoks now blink. Okay. Makes a little bit more sense, but I don't really think many people were asking the questions, why don't the Ewoks blink? I mean, it's fairly minor, and at most it would be kind of a nitpick. Like, why don't the Ewoks ever blink? And again, just because you don't see them blink on camera does not mean they couldn't conceivably blink when the camera cuts away. Again, I could just be rationalizing, but wasting a lot of money to have the Ewoks blink, it seems pretty pointless to me. But again, fairly minor in the grand scheme of things. But the thing that really pisses me off about the Blu-ray release and subsequent change in Return of the Jedi is, I said earlier in the video how my favorite moment from the movie was Darth Vader killing the Emperor and basically saving Luke from the Emperor by killing him. So you know what they did to the Blu-ray version of that? They have Darth Vader as he is lifting the Emperor up and tossing him down into the hole, into the abyss. They have him constantly shouting, "No, no, no!" People rag on episode 3 because Darth Vader said he basically shouted that same thing in Revenge of the Sith. People hate that. They think it is so stupid and just diminishes any drama you have. I mean, it just takes you out of it. No, this takes you out of it, because this was just such a perfect moment. I mean, why did you need dialogue in this? I mean, it's so much more powerful when Darth Vader doesn't say anything when he's doing this. I mean, you again, going back to the psychological aspects of this movie, you really kind of feel the inner turmoil just by the body movements, and then afterwards by what he does. By his actions. You didn't need to have this kind of vocalization of what he is feeling. I mean, that just you've taken one of, in my opinion, the best moment in your franchise, the grand highlights, everything fully realized, all the drama, all the action has been building to this, and it's just destroyed. I mean, you've just pissed all over this moment. I mean, you've pissed all over all of this build-up. Everything about this scene and what made it work is just completely overshadowed by this stupid line that comes right out of nowhere. Good God! It's phenomenal how brain dead you would have to be to add this in. I mean, it is perfect the way it is. I don't know why George Lucas feels the need to constantly go back and change stuff that was already good. I mean, it's... You know, I wouldn't be surprised if once Star Wars Episode 7 comes out, because apparently they're doing that now. Once Star Wars Episode 7 comes out, he's probably going to do something else. Probably have another Blu-ray release of the original trilogy, but this time Yoda will be digital. He will be rendered in the computer, so all that hard work that the design team and the animatronics team and the puppeteers spent on that fantastic Yoda creature, all the hard work that they put in will just be nullified. It will just be rendered completely superfluous because you will not be able to see their work anymore. It is going to be it's just going to be in the computer. Christ. To be fair, they haven't announced that yet, but again, it wouldn't surprise me. If they've gone and done this, the Darth Vader thing, although maybe not, because George Lucas handed over the rights to Disney and Kathleen Kennedy. But I don't understand the mindset to this, because again, he must have read some of the negative feedback when he put that in Revenge of the Sith. He must have seen at least one displeased audience member. He must have heard something about how people did not like when Darth Vader said that in Revenge of the Sith, and now you go and insert it here at this pivotal moment. It just hurts. I mean, it just, like I said, it completely kills. It completely kills what worked about that scene. Kills it dead. It's one of the reasons I didn't buy the Blu-ray. A, because I don't need another edition of Star Wars. I got my Star Wars DVDs. Those already have enough digital crap in them, but yeah, these completely pointless Blu-ray changes. It's yeah, when I said earlier I recommended how I basically liked all three of the original Star Wars movies. When I recommend them, I am recommending you buy either the VHS or the DVD versions. Because if you want the best experience possible when watching the original trilogy, stay away from the Blu-ray version. Unless they come up with a better version, or like Star Wars Blu-ray Original Cut, or something like that. Unless they do something like that, stay away from the Blu-ray version, unless you want to see the special features, which will probably draw many people in. But in terms of just speaking of the movie, it's clearly an inferior version. An inferior, digitally enhanced version of a good movie. A series of good movies that did not need digital enhancement. I mean, George Lucas goes on about how, oh, this is Star Wars how I originally intended it to be. Okay, but still, too much creative control could mean the difference between a good movie and a bad movie. Batman Returns was horrible. Tim Burton had too much creative control on that movie. Batman Returns was god awful. I mean, it was just this ugly. It was just this ugly hybrid of all these other Tim Burton movies that I've never been a fan of. I mean, I am not a Tim Burton fan. That's not to say I am completely denouncing him as a bad director. I'm just saying I really don't like his movies. I don't like Tim Burton. Other people are fine to like him. I don't. But what are another example of too much creative control? Like Star Trek the Motion Picture, Gene Roddenberry, I think, had a big part in writing that. And it turns out Star Trek the Motion Picture was a boring chore. It was a boring 2.5 hour long chore. And you know what they did afterwards? They completely excised Gene Roddenberry from most, if not all, creative control, and they made Star Trek II: Wrath of Khan, which was fantastic. So I'm really going off on a tangent here. I'm gonna wrap this up, but yeah, the Blu-ray version is just a detriment. I mean, it does more harm than good. So yeah, go for the DVD version of Return of the Jedi if you want to watch it. Or any of the Star Wars movies, really. Go for the VHS or DVD copies, because the Blu-ray versions have nothing to offer movie-wise. Maybe they may have something to offer special features-wise, but not in terms of the movie. So that's my 2 cents. And thank you for sticking around for an extra 12.5 minutes, assuming you're still watching this video, because you got my general opinion. I mean, why else do you need to stick around? Maybe it's I don't know, maybe it's to stare at my big head.